Digimon Adventure Last Evolution Kizuna. A lot of words for a movie I can sum up with one word. Wow. This is going to be my spoiler-free first impressions on Digimon Adventure Last Evolution Kizuna, a film I have seen but haven't seen with the official English subtitles or translation yet. Since the movie deals with some pretty intense themes and a lot of talking, I'm going to hold out on my official graded judgment until I've had a chance to watch the movie again with the official translation, so that I can properly analyze its themes with zero speculation or misunderstanding about what it's trying to say to us. So let me just cut to the chase. I loved every second of Last Evolution Kizuna, and I think you will too if you're okay with endings that try to tell you something, even if it's not what you wanted to hear. The movie knows exactly what it wants to be and exactly what it wants to say, whether you like it or not. I respect the heck out of that, but it's possible you won't. I know that sounds weird. It's about all I can say without getting into spoilers, which we're not going to do in this video. Put it this way. Whereas Try was a sequel series to Adventure and Adventure 02 that checked in with these characters but left room for the series to keep going, Last Evolution is just about the closest thing we've seen to the end of Digimon Adventure's story besides the 02 epilogue. The fact it wants to be an ending or even has the guts to be an ending is so cool. Let me give you some context about my Digimon story. So I love Digimon Adventure, the original series. I love 02. It had its critics, but I love it overall. I mean, I loved the characters. I loved the sense of generations and legacy with the older kids and the newer kids. I adore the Hosoda Digimon directed movies that became the English language Digimon movie. And then Try. So Try, I know, is a bit controversial at this point in time. It arrived at a special time for me. I was in university, and its announcement got all of my roommates super excited about Digimon for the first time in 10 or 15 years. We didn't even know we were all Digimon fans. We just never really talked about it, but each one of us had these Digimon stories and love for the franchise, and so we would have these premiere parties when the movies came out on Crunchyroll. It became this event every 6 months for 3 years, basically, and it all culminated with me being lucky enough to be on vacation in Tokyo when the final 6th movie came out, and I actually got to watch it in theaters. It was like this incredible Digimon experience for me. So I say everything I say about Try to tell you that even though I like Try, Digimon Adventure Last Evolution Kizuna blows it out of the water. This movie is on another level. The animation is just fantastic from the opening battle to the end. The art style itself is totally gorgeous. It reminds me of what Dragon Ball Super Broly did, where it shows kind of this unique art style that seemingly came out of nowhere. It doesn't really tie to any series before it or commit to the manga. It's kind of its own thing, but it's a lot more unique than what Try brought to the table in my opinion. And on the animation front, because it's only about an hour and a half instead of 6 movies, they really pour their hearts into these fight scenes. There's a 3D Omegamon moment, and I usually can't stand it when the 3D section of a fight pops up in a 2D anime movie, but something about this one was completely forgivable and dare I say it, even kind of cool. The 02 kids are here. You've probably seen them in the trailers, and I personally was so happy to see them. They were just so shafted in Try, I thought. We got to see them in the first 5 minutes, and I thought, yep, they're definitely coming back. Why would you introduce the fall of these characters only to never show them again, save for some silhouettes? So the fact that they're in this movie, they're happy, it just filled my heart with so much joy. They're certainly not the stars of the show, but they have their own assignment in the movie, and they're responsible for getting to the bottom of this mystery about who the real villain is. We also get to see their Digimon fighting in the end of the film, defending other children, and I can't tell you how amazing it was for me to see, especially since they were once the younger generation of kids looking up to these older guys. I realized in this moment when they're defending all these little kids and all these weaker Digimon that they are finally the older kids they aspired to be. I wonder if it dawned on them in that moment. As for the actual content of the movie, you know, the story and the action, there are 3 main fight sequences, and interestingly, each one of these is an homage to the first 3 Digimon films. We open with a Parrotmon fight, this Our War Game style internet fight, and then this fight at the very end of the movie, which is a bit of a combination. It's somewhat Our War Game, but it's also a bit of Hurricane Touchdown, but I don't want to go into too much detail about why it's like Hurricane Touchdown, since I don't think that's really been shown in trailers yet, to my knowledge. On the story front, and again, not just to make this a whole comparison to Try, but I feel like it's important because it was the most recent one of these films, and it was also the sort of the Digi-Destined or grown-up films. Kizuna benefits greatly from the luxury of being a single movie. Try being a series of movies was a blessing and a curse because on one hand we got a season's worth of new Digimon stories, but it also meant that the writers had to try and tell 6 impactful sets of stories that all linked together in a way that left them all sort of unrelated resolve because they were always leading into the next movie. Last Evolution is allowed basically to tell a single story, and it smartly decides to focus on Taichi and Yamato, Tai and Matt, to tell this really heartbreaking, really heartwarming story about growing up. Again, I've resolved not to spoil too much or really anything for the movie, but I'll share one small bit of character building that they do in this movie because it's not really a spoiler. So we all know Yamato is the band guy, right? He's had this harmonica since Adventure. He was playing bass guitar and singing in 02, and he started a new band in Try. We start Last Evolution where he's finishing up his undergrad at university and he isn't playing music anymore. He sees a street band and reminisces, and it just broke my heart. This guy whose whole thing was music clearly still loves it. Nothing changed about his love for music, but he's put it down. Usually in these types of Digimon stories, the writers use the Digimon partners themselves to represent our childhoods or our hobbies that we grew out of or lose love for. And I thought there was something so real and impactful about seeing Yamato shut down his frontman persona in the time between Try and Kizuna. It's like the writers know the character and the audience enough to know that seeing Matt give up on his dreams of music is just gonna destroy us. As for the themes of the movie, it has a lot to say. I'm still trying to wrestle to understand exactly what it wanted to tell us, as it's seemingly a movie about saying goodbye to your childhood, but also ironically, this is not going to be the last Digimon story ever told. I think we all kind of know that. But there's a lot in the movie about determinism, destiny, choices, mistakes you've made, and living with those mistakes. But again, I want to reserve judgment on the themes of the movie until I get an official translation. It just struck me as a lot to tackle and sometimes losing the plot, but perhaps that was just me not being able to follow along. If you're a huge lore head, there's going to be some loose ends in Last Evolution, especially as it relates to the 02 epilogue and to Try. With Try, in Kizuna, they don't at all try to pick up on the Dark Genai tease from the very end of Try, which is completely strange. It means that you could truly have just skipped Try and be totally fine watching this movie. Maybe that's what they wanted. Maybe they saw the numbers and found out that not as many people watch Try as they thought they did, or something that we're not privy to. Maybe they plan on making more Try films in the future to deal with the Dark Genai stuff, or they thought they were going to do that when they made that final tease with Dark Genai, but it's just not here in Kizuna. It's a bit of a shame. But on the other hand, as I mentioned before, I kind of like that this movie just tells one story and it's not Try movie 7. So maybe it's for the best. There's also that 02 epilogue. I can't get too deep into it here because this is a non-spoiler review, but yes, the 02 epilogue is still canon after this movie. Throughout it, we see Davis teasing his ramen cart, Yamato is seen reading books about space, etc. Something happens at the end of the movie that on the surface would make you think the 02 epilogue isn't happening or can't, or that there's a huge plot hole in this movie. I think it's valid to feel that way, but I suspect I know how the events of Kizuna's ending and the 02 epilogue can still both be canon, and I'm wondering if there will be a sequel to Kizuna that bridges the gap one more time. Maybe it'll be for the 25th anniversary, or if the writers just want to leave that up to our imaginations. Overall, I'm just so happy this movie exists. It is a total love letter to the fans. One of the trailers had this line that said something about this movie is dedicated to all the children who have walked with Digimon before, or something to that effect. And seeing that line in the trailer just sent shivers down my spine, as cheesy as that sounds. And watching the movie, it felt like it was completely true. It wasn't just marketing spiel. That was what this movie felt like. It was dedicated to me and my friends. And yeah, I'm somewhat at a loss for words with this one. I loved it. Again, I don't dislike Try. It holds an incredible place in my heart. But Last Evolution just feels so much more thoughtful and curated. It is far, far closer to the Hosoda films in terms of wanting to tell you an amazing story that will be a landmark event on the timeline of Digimon Adventure. Definitely recommend it. Check back here around October. That's when the movie will be out officially in the West with the English dub and the English subtitles. So I'll do a more analytical and scored review of Digimon Last Evolution Kizuna there. I'll probably do a full spoiler review as well. So let me know, have you watched the movie? And if so, comment below. No spoilers, obviously, but let me know what you thought. Maybe I'm completely wrong and you hated it. And if you haven't seen it yet, let me know what you're hoping to see. I won't tell you if it's there or not, but I just want to hear and get a feel for what other Digimon fans are hoping to get out of this finale to the adventure saga. All right.